By now, you're probably aware of the fact that there have been a fair amount of viral videos that have taken off in the last week praising Osama bin Laden as some kind of war hero for what he did on 9/11. Some TikTokers have been taking to TikTok to share that they just recently read his letter to America, and as a result of that, it has been eye-opening to them. Now, the reason I bring this up in the context of Bible study with Democrats is right here. I'll show you one young lady who praises Osama bin Laden and likens it unto her deconstructive Christian journey. Check it out.
This morning I read Letter to America, which is Osama bin Laden's letter to America explaining why he attacked Americans. And I am ashamed to say that I not only have never read this letter, but I didn't even know this letter existed. It's wild, and everyone should read it. If you haven't read it yet, read it. However, be forewarned that this has left me very disillusioned, and I feel the same exact way I felt when I was deconstructing Christianity. I feel a little bit just confused, like I have entered into another timeline. What is this? And yeah, so go read it.
Yes, oh yes, deconstructors are not just stupid when it comes to Christianity, they are also equally dumb when it comes to foreign policy, and it comes to war, and it comes to terrorism, because now these Gen Zers are praising terrorists like Osama bin Laden. Now, this young girl is not the only one, she's just the only one who said that in the same way she deconstructed her faith, she's now envisioning what America looks like in the future. And so, obviously, the real problem with the deconstruction movement is that it has always wanted to destroy the church rather than to want to critically analyze church, as I've always argued on this show. If deconstruction was really about critical thinking, then I'm all for it, but it's not. It's about deconstruction. The name is actually very fitting for what deconstructionists want to do. They want to kind of cherry pick the Bible and then grab the things they like, get rid of the things they don't, and then make sure they can be gay affirming at the end of the day, because that's really what most of them are after. Suffice to say, the deconstruction movement is after deconstruction. But the deconstruction movement isn't only about deconstructing the church, it's also about deconstructing America, and it is originally about that in particular. The deconstruction movement has a Marxist history that is simply interested in revolution rather than interested in truth. And that's why when it sneaks its way into the Christian church, it's a huge problem. But it's also a problem when it sneaks its way into America, because if these people have their way, then what we've built here, whatever is good about it, will cease to exist. And you can trust that deconstructionists don't have anything good to put in the place of America if they get their way. And we have a reason to believe that they just might. Now, I want to show you a parody that has all of a sudden become a reality in the present as we see these kind of morally benighted people post these TikTok posts in praise of Osama bin Laden. So here is an old SNL clip that is probably going to get this clip demonetized, but is worth it to show each and every one of you. But here's an old SNL clip of a father sending his daughter away, what seems to be to college, but is obviously going to send her to someplace very, very different. Check it out.
You be careful, okay?
Dad, it's just ISIS.
Take care of her.
Death to America.
ISIS. We'll take it from here, Dad.
A rare moment where SNL is not only prophetic, but also incredibly funny, because I just love that part where the guy says, "Death to America," to the father when he says, "Protect the girl." But this parody is no longer parody. It's like the Babylon Bee prophetically naming and claiming about 100 things that eventually happened after their little satire came into fruition. Kamala Harris needing a crisis dinner with Hillary Clinton's people to become more likable, one of them. But suffice to say, we need to pay attention when the ridiculous becomes reality, because it may be a joke today, but it could become reality tomorrow, as this clip from SNL has become. The problem is that prosperity fueled by capitalism and Christianity being a great boon for the American West has bubble wrapped the vast majority of young people and apparently their minds, and has kept them secure and immune to some of the problems of the rest of the world in such a way that it has made them incredibly naive to what the real world is actually like. My hope with what's happening in Gaza right now and what happened with Israel will help wake people up to the fact that war is a necessary evil in a world where fallen people exist. No amount of AI, no amount of technology is going to be the cure for human nature, because the one thing that has been consistent throughout human history is human nature. And we see it here with this letter to America craze. So all I can say is this, is that we need to find a way to stop the joke from becoming a reality by fighting back as much as we possibly can. And this is where I want to encourage Christians to become incredibly aggressive. And by that, I just mean incredibly assertive in their worldview when it comes to social media. You may say to yourself, well, listen, what can little old me do? Well, what can little old that person that you just saw on TikTok do except encourage a whole trend praising Osama bin Laden to take place? It's time we started becoming digital missionaries and realizing that we have a place in this world to fight back against the narrative before it becomes a reality. And it will if we remain silent. So I think we need to start leveraging whatever influence we possibly can to really start pushing against these narratives. Now, maybe we need to do it like the Babylon Bee does. And I think the Babylon Bee has an obviously prominent place in society, but also an important place in the church. Martin Luther said this. He said, the best way to drive out the devil, if he will not yield to texts of scripture, is to jeer and flout him, for he cannot bear scorn. Now, on the other end, a guy who would have been somewhat opposed, kind of like Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, to Martin Luther, Sir Thomas More said this, the devil, that proud spirit, cannot endure to be mocked. We talked about mockery on the show before, but the reason mockery within the Christian framework is important is that it shows that what is happening is ridiculous. And if we can point out the ridiculousness of society, it's hoped that we can stop it before it becomes the reality. Perhaps mockery signals that we understand that the battle can be won, and that when we act worn out with it or depressed, or we wave our hand away at culture wars, what we're actually communicating subtly is that we know that we're losing and we don't think we can win. So don't take the road of defeat. Take the road of the happy warrior, use mockery, use whatever you need to stand for the truth. But by God, do not be silent, because it is a radical act of benevolence to tell the truth in a world of lies. And I pray that you will have the courage to do it, because if you do, we might subtly find that our culture stops celebrating weakness and starts celebrating strength and truth. And as you do it this Thanksgiving, I pray that you'll do it not only liking, sharing, and subscribing, but also going with God. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
So you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much larger episode. You can find the link to that full episode down below in the description of this video. So you definitely want to check that out, because if you like that clip, you'll like the much larger episode. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell to be notified when great new episodes of Indie Thinker come your way. Thanks for watching.